Hey, how's it going, Phil? It's me back again for another episode of the Pro Vlog. Today we're going to be working on the car again. I have been cracking on getting stuff done, so there's going to be things that you haven't seen in the previous episode of the vlog. I will go over that, but first of all we're going to be looking at this Speedtek Racing Collapsible Steering Column kit that we're going to be fitting to the car. Nissan steering column that I've previously just a standard one. I suppose I just got to the point and realised that it was the only bloody standard bit in the car, so why not change that as well. And I had mounts all set up and ready to go for that, for mounting the digital dash and that, but I found that with the pedal box fitted, which you're going to see in a little bit later in this episode, that it just wasn't going to work, and it was, you could actually grab a steering wheel, move it about a bit, which I just don't see at this point in the game. I don't see the point in messing about with it. You're going to do it right, you do it right. So we're going to be replacing this with this, which is the Speedtek Racing Collapsible Steering Column. Which is this. It has got a quick release that's more a race car style quick release. You can see there, splined end. Now the reason for buying this has got nothing to do with the fact that it's purple, although I do appreciate it. So what is a collapsible steering column? So we've got a slide in the middle that collapses. Now why would you need such a thing? And it's a safety device. It's a case of if there's a really bad impact, and it's got to be a bloody bad impact before it shoves the steering column up, but it saves the steering column being, in the event of an accident, being shoved up and basically hitting me. Now I'm not going to say that it's something you really need. I would say very, very few, if any, drift cars in the UK at the moment. I've noticed that Bagsy's new car, the GA6, is going to have a collapsible steering column in it, and they're very rare. But I think I've went through all this trouble at this point. I think this is the better option. So this kit is Nuts Overnight Parts from Australia, and yeah, it's just a standard kind of like steering column kit. It's got an aluminium spherical bearing there, and yeah, I'm hoping this is going to be good. So let's see if she's good. Let's first of all have a look and see what's in the kit. Quick release, spherical bearing, and there's two mounts that just lock it in place. Speedtek Racing freebies. Thank you very much, Speedtek. Is a adapter that converts the 3-volt on the end of the quick release to the Nardi steering wheel that I've got in the car. So yeah, it's good, and it comes with special cap screws for locking that in, so it's good. And with that, get this rid of this. Don't need this anymore. Intermediate shaft. Bit of steel shaft to connect the steering rack onto the steering shaft. Rack number one, some stickers. Right, so that is the cap screws for the CNC machine boss for the steering wheel. There's a little note here, apply thread lock, so it's to stop them coming out. So sleeve here. Right, so first spline sleeve that we'll weld onto there for going onto steering rack, I would have thought. So let's see here. Warranty disclaimer, because of their Intended usage, the manufacturer makes no warranties whatsoever expressing or implied oral or written to purchaser of their products. Universal joint. Goes onto the other side. There we go. So it's a bulkhead bearing, so this steering column will be supported at the bulkhead and welded onto the effectively the roll cage. So that's a spherical bearing if we're going down the bottom. That, and I think, should go on there, I would have thought. That looks like that, and I hope that's going to work with my build. So let's have a tidy up here and let's see how it's going to look in the car. Cracking start. My Nardi doesn't fit. That's weird. A little bit of update, I'll show you where I'm at with the steering column. So I've just used the original kind of steel boot to basically just make just like to hold things in place so I can see where it's going to fit. Now my biggest concern was that where the universal joint goes on to the end of the steering column, you have to have a minimum of 30 degrees, well, maximum of 30 degrees. And what I've done is I've taken the original spline. Unfortunately, well, my original steering column was butchered anyway, so I've decided to rob the end off that. So I've got basically the same ends as the standard steering rack's going to be. I'll cut this down. I'll have to machine the chromoly bar. I'm going to have to machine that, and I'm going to have to slide it over the top and weld it. So that just to make sure that these are going to line up, which I think they're going to line up okay, and I think that will work perfect. I think if it was any further this way it would be too far, and I think if it was any higher, another thing I could do is I can move it further this way if I really wanted to. I don't want it to hit the chassis rail, so I think that's pretty spot on there. Whether I'm going to use the boot or not, I'm not sure. I'm just using it as a kind of a guide just now, and I might end up using it. I might end up just using a bit of steel and welding it in. So let's have a look in here. Very sophisticated, holding the steering wheel up. Now that's all set up in there at roughly the height. Now I'm a bit disappointed that my steering wheel doesn't fit the boss that they supplied. I don't know what the story is with that, but I'm going to have to check the PCDs and maybe message them about that. As you can see, it runs through the willwood pedal box and down to the bulkhead down there.
comes to good entertainment, well, guess what, everyone? You don't need anything that's coming out in 2024. No, look to the past, find the great stuff, rewatch it all, find stuff you have. There's so much stuff that I haven't watched yet that it's got a great, like, falling down, it feels like, exactly, yeah.
Right, I've put the seat back in, I've put in the dashboard on, I've put the Haltech dash in. I'm basically set up the way I want this to run. I thought it was a good time to speak about how I went about lining everything up and setting everything up. Now, there's a lot of trial and error. I think I've gotten really lucky and everything's lined up pretty good and I'm really happy. I'm really happy with how this has turned out. I'm really happy I decided to put the steering column kit in because I think it's really made a big difference to the way the car's set up. Now, I've realised that I had the steering wheel maybe sitting a little bit low. Now, I've looked at a lot of different drivers and how they do it. Some drivers prefer having the column a little bit lower, some prefer having it in the standard position. I think it's important to have the steering wheel kind of in your eye line so you can get an idea whereabouts it is. Now, I know a lot of people go, oh, but I don't look at the steering wheel, but you maybe subliminally, you know, you're doing it without even realising you're doing it. So also, by lifting the steering column up, you're giving yourself more length. So the lower it is, the further it is into your body. The higher up it is, there's a longer distance to travel. So it means that the rack's not so close up to your chest. And I think that gives you enough leverage on the steering. Also, it's a great position to work the e-brake, and the shifter is further back so that you don't accidentally grab the wrong one. I've also put the dashboard in just to make sure that it kind of works in that eye line of the steering wheel, and yeah, everything seems to be working together. I've also put the seat back in just to give you an idea how it's all going to look. Now, when you're designing this, like I have, I decided not to use the column mount that came with the steering column. I'll be honest, you probably could have gotten away with working that, just it was a little bit further down the steering column, and I wanted the mount to be as close as the steering wheel as I could, because you don't want any leverage to bend and flex the steering wheel out the way. Now, I think I could have maybe gotten away with mounting it a little bit further back. That would have meant these bars were a bit lower down, and I probably would have got my Haltech dash underneath the dashboard, which would have probably looked a bit tidier. But I'll be honest with you, the way I've got it mounted here, it's nice and close. I can see it through the steering wheel. I'm going to be able to see the shift light. So I think that works pretty well. And I think once that's tightened up, that'll be good. I think steering position, or your seating position in the car, is very important. Some people can maybe just jump in a drift car and drive, but I like to be in the right place in a race car. Now, this has got a bit of adjustment. I can lower the wheel a bit. You're better to maybe set a little bit higher and give yourself a bit of adjustment to go down. I've decided to fit the Willwood top mounted pedal box in the car. I priced up for the Chase and Bays one, which turned out to be about the same price as putting in a pedal box. Just means a bit more fabrication, and I'm happy with how it's all went together. it's just going to look a bit more tidy and a bit more professional. I'm probably going to have to modify the throttle pedal a little bit to get it in the right place. But yeah, I'm really happy with that. I'm really happy how the fiberglass dashes went in as well. That's how I've done the steering column. I've put in a support brace onto here. It just means that it can't flex and bend. Maybe a bit overkill, but I thought it was pretty important. And in here you can see the Willwood top mounted pedal box, which is going to have the reservoirs underneath the dash here. So that works spot on. I'll have to probably modify the throttle pedal, and I've got this fiberglass tray down in here for just to tidy things up down there a bit. The pedals look like they're sitting really high, but the actual the bolt-on pedals that go on are adjust so they lower down a bit, so I'll take up that space to the floor there. I can maybe also jack up the floor pan a bit if I'm struggling. Now, I haven't completely welded it yet, but I ended up reusing this part of the steering column where usually a drive boot goes onto, and I'm just going to weld it. I've welded a steel plate onto there, and it just means that it's removable and I can make adjustments once the chassis is done. And I think that'll be strong enough, not going anywhere. Right, I'm going to wrap this one up. I think that's enough for one episode. Sorry I haven't been more thorough with showing you what all I've been doing in this part, but I've really been trying to crack on and get this done, and it is a uphill struggle at the moment. I get a bit of teaser on what's going to happen in the next episode. I am in the process of fitting the firewall kit from Group D. I'm getting there with that, and yeah, I also have to put in I've put in another roll cage bar in here for mounting a point for the harnesses to attach to meet with regulations. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to hit that subscribe button, and I will catch you later.